Welcome back to Cottage Designs by Erin. If you are new to my channel, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Erin Pennington. I'm a full-time special education teacher and a part-time seamstress. I have my own website on Etsy called Cottage Designs by Erin, where I specialize in custom-made doll clothing. On YouTube, I teach a sewing video every week teaching you how to make something. If you go click on my videos and you go back through my list, I've taught you how to make doll clothes, curtains, quilts, coasters, baby birth cloths, you name it, baby bonnets, all kinds of things. So if you like to sew and you're always trying to learn new skills, this is the channel for you. Today, we're going to be working on a vintage doll pattern. This is Simplicity 4839. Let's see if it has a date on it. It does not have a copyright on it. It's probably either from the 50s or 60s. And we are making the little yellow dress, which is view 2. And it is going to fit a 16-inch vintage Terri Lee doll. Terri Lee has kind of a larger waist, but then the rest of her is actually not that big. So that is what we're sewing, and we're going to be making a Halloween dress. So I'm going to move the camera to my hands now. Okay, so if you notice, I already have the pattern cut out, and I cut the bodice out on the fold, and I cut out 2. The reason I cut out 2 is because we are going to use one of them as a lining. Just a little tip so that you don't lose your pattern pieces. As you use them, make a little envelope to put the pattern piece in, so next time you need it when it's stored, you can find it quickly. Okay, we're going to start with the bodice first. We are going to lay the 2 pieces right side together. And I should add that this pattern comes in an 18-inch as well as a 16-inch. Anytime I mention 18-inch, people want to know if it fits American Girl doll. I doubt if it would, because I think it is too narrow, but it will fit other slender body 18-inch dolls like Shirley Temple and Sweet Sue. So when you're sewing this pattern, it's important that all of your edges line up, which is what I just did. Now we are going to, I'll turn it around. You're going to start on one side and you're going to sew up and around all the top of the pattern. And that will give us our lining. I'm right-handed, so I typically start on the right side of the pattern. Well, I guess I'm going to turn upside down though, so it'll be easier. I'm just using a standard stitch and Walmart black thread. When you get to your curved piece, you want to stop and keep your needle down to stab the fabric in place. And then you're going to turn the fabric. And I'm just sewing a 1/4 of an inch inseam. Most doll patterns are listed by the doll's height, but that does not mean that it will fit the doll's body style because they are all different. So sometimes it's a matter of trial and error. Okay, I'm now going to take my larger scissors, if I can find them, and I am going to clip up any loose threads, and I'm also going to clip up to the stitch line but not through the stitch line, and this will help my little pattern piece lay down better. Once I do that, I'm going to now clip the back edge closer to the seam allowance so that I don't have a bulky seam. Now it's time to remove the pins and flip the bodice piece inside out. Oh, I missed a spot. I've got to go over that. Suppose I should have looked for any holes before I flipped it. I normally do, but that's what happens when you get in a hurry and you're on camera. Something always goes wrong. Okay, so here's our little bodice piece. Now we want to give it a gentle press so that it will lay down nicely. Get my little ironing board here. You can tell the pieces on this are fairly small. It's not very wide. Okay, now what we want to do is we are going to join our shoulder pieces by flipping it in and then pin it in place. And this is going to give us, we're going to sew straight across the top, which is going to give us our little bodice piece. Cut off any loose strings. Take our pins out. And we're now going to flip this inside out. So this is our cute little bodice top. Now we're going to press under the hem of the skirt. The skirt says it has a 1-inch hem, but on dolls from 50s and 60s, it can actually be a little shorter if necessary. Okay, we're going to give the fabric a little press first. Okay, we're now going to go back over that hem a second time. This fabric has been stored for a while. It's got a lot of wrinkles, even though I've pressed it a couple times already. Okay, now we're going to flip the skirt over. I am not going to pin anything because we have a straight line to work with. I'm now going to sew on some black rickrack, but before I sew it on, I need to make sure I have enough. And I do. So now we're going to start sewing the rickrack in place. I want to get it very, very close to the bottom of the skirt so that my hem and my rickrack is being sewn in place all at once. I'm not sure where this fabric came from, but I think it's vintage Joann's. It was my friend Alita's, but I don't know where she got it. So I've positioned the rickrack very close to the bottom, but it is not touching the bottom. We're cutting off the excess rickrack. We're now going to take the sides of the skirt and pull them together. And we're going to sew up the back seam allowance. I'm lining up my rickrack. We're going to stop a little way from the top so that we can have room to fit the doll in. Next, we're going to press open the back seam allowance. We don't want to do too much because we want to make sure it does fit the doll at the waist. Okay, we are now going to sew down the back of the skirt, across and back up. All right, we are now going to find the center of our skirt. It's easy to see because it still has a hard crease left in it. I'm going to put a pin inside that crease. And now we're going to put it on the machine on the largest stitch, and we're going to sew around the top and gather it up. The largest stitch that my machine has is a 5.0. Okay, we're now going to take a pin and remove 1 or 2 stitches so that we can shear up the skirt. I'm going to start from one side, shear to the middle, turn it around, and then shear from the other side. Okay, now we're going to release 1 stitch from the other side, and then we are going to shear it up to the middle. Okay, it is now time to attach the bodice to the skirt. To do that, we're going to take the bodice and face us going up. We are going to line the crease that's in the bodice with the pin of the crease line that is in the skirt. We are now going to start pinning the bodice to the skirt. As we pin, we are going to reposition the gathers to make sure that everything is gathered evenly on the skirt. And if you have to draw it up tighter, you can always pull on your strings at the end. Make sure that your pins are placed lower on the skirt so that when it comes to time to sew, you do not run over them in your seam allowance. You are going to have to adjust your gathers as you go, just by spacing them out evenly with your fingers. as a reminder, if you want to sew this for Bitty Baby, I do not think, even though the doll is typically 16 inches tall, I do not think this pattern will fit Bitty Baby. Bitty Baby's torso is as big as the 18-inch girl, American Girl doll. So you would use the 18-inch pattern and then you would just shorten the skirt. All right, we are now ready to sew this on. We have all of our little skirt attached inside. Or not attached, but pinned. I'm going to keep my thumb inside the skirt so that I can feel the bodice and the skirt going around. I need to knock my stitch length back down to normal. I'm sewing just underneath the gathering line so that everything will get caught in the seam allowance. I do not run over pins. A lot of people do. I don't. I don't think it's good for your machine. It's not good for your pins. And sometimes you can actually, with these little butterfly pins, because there's so much top, if you run over that, you will sew it to the skirt and then you will have a mess. Now for extra stability, clip off any strings. For extra stability, I am going to zigzag stitch just at the top of this ruffle above the seam line so that I can hold all my gathers in place. A zigzag stitch on my machine that is not super tight is a number 8. If I go with a number 7, it makes like a super tight overcast stitch. Okay, we're going to run it through again, and we're going to sew above the stitch line in a zigzag motion. And all this does is hold the gathers in place. When doing this kind of work, you realize how important it is to have a good machine that will go over the lumps and bumps. I'm going to now tidy up the skirt by cutting off any loose strings. I'm going to remove any pins. Okay, we are now going to flip our dress inside out. Here's our sweet little dress. I see some strings I missed. Cut those off. Let's try it on the doll. I do not keep her slip on when I sew her dresses because it's usually a fairly tight fit and the dress may not be the same length as the skirt. Okay, we're going to put her in feet first. We're going to be careful with her arms because she is from the 1950s. She's all original. We do not want to hurt her stringing. Okay, let me move my camera up. And I always pin it in place to get an idea where I need the snaps to go. This doll has very good stringing, so she stands on her own, which is something for a 1950s doll. Okay, then yesterday I bought, let me straighten you out here a little bit, girly. Yesterday I bought some black ribbon, velvet vintage ribbon for $1. And we are going to trim out this dress with this ribbon. I like to use a very generous amount. Oh, this piece is already cut, so yay for us. Okay, so we're going to go up around her little belly. Now, I have a lot of generous ribbon here. It falls down on the table. Which should happen. That way then you know you have plenty. For a nice, big, beautiful bow. Now you could continue to trim her out. You could add a collar. You could sew buttons down the top of her dress. I am going to probably add a little flower here and of course a black witch hat, and Terri Lee will be ready for Halloween. If you like my videos, please like and subscribe and give me a thumbs up. I greatly appreciate my audience. Thank you.